Thank you, Lord Mayor, and I'll try not to detain the Chamber long on an amendment of 7 words, and there's others waiting to speak on this really important topic. But our group felt that these words needed to come out of the main motion because they are, if you like, intensely political, and we want the main motion to be taken through corporately. But we understand that the Labour group is not going to support an amendment which overrules a decision of the leader of the council, and that decision was taken in May to remove the cabinet member for transportation as a post, and that was a decision of the leader. The Labour group is not going to override that. It was also an expression of priorities, and it was a misjudgment because by downgrading transportation and mixing it in with waste and environment and everything else, okay, there's loss of environment in transport as well, but by downgrading it 2 months later, the cabinet member was declaring a road safety emergency because there's a whole issue that's not being tackled. So on the one hand, we're challenging what was a political decision. On the other hand, councillors can and rightly will see after this afternoon's events and after the executive management report this afternoon, will rightly ask the question of whether the portfolio that is being created is too big for one person. Even Councillor Mahmood, in the present circumstances, when waste collection is going through major transformation, when there is so much going on in transport and a road safety emergency has been declared long overdue, because there have been promises and promises and promises. So what's the role of a cabinet member? Well, on one level, a cabinet member's role is simply to make decisions and to explain and justify those decisions. And too often it seemed in administrations as though that's all cabinet members do. But of course they have more roles beyond that. They have more capacity beyond that, even within the scope of the member officer protocol. They should be overseeing and scrutinising what is going on in the departments they oversee, making sure that projects are delivered as promised. And they should also be delivering the priorities and making sure the priorities of their party that they put before the electorate are delivered. And we've had reference already to the Labour manifesto, that big promise. Here we are, that big promise in the Labour manifesto of 2022. This is the page on road safety. 9 points to be delivered. First one, tackling dangerous and antisocial speeding by trebling our network of average speed cameras on key routes across the city. 2 years later, not a single speed camera delivered. And on the other side, in fact, was what they had delivered in the 4 years previously, 2018 to 2022, just 4 bullet points on achievement in road safety in the previous term of this administration. So it really needed to be stepped up. And in the manifesto, it was stepped up with 9 points and a further 9 points under clean air, 18 points to be delivered for the cabinet member to oversee. So taking 1 day a month, looking at each of those projects and those bullet points, that's 18 days of his working month as a cabinet member, setting aside the waste collection and everything else. What else was there? Speed cameras, investing at least £10 million in making the roads outside schools amongst the safest in our city. I'm looking at the wrong one, that's air quality. Investing at least £10 million in making the roads outside schools amongst the safest in our city. It was duplicated, never mind, 17 points. Reduce one for you, Councillor Mahmood. We will work with every school in the city to ensure it is safer for children and their families to walk and cycle to school and find a long-term solution for parking outside schools. Well, we're groping towards it, but we need support and oversight and need a real focus on these things. I mean, this morning I was talking to a resident of the Warsaw Road in my ward, and frankly, 2018 to 2022, that road was made more dangerous because of the infrastructure projects that were put in place without commensurate measures to tackle the increased road safety risks. And this resident in July was tending an elderly gentleman who'd been knocked down on the road outside his house, and that gentleman did not survive that accident. Another accident on that road, still waiting for speed cameras. We need the focus of a cabinet member who is totally focused to transport, not mixed up with other things. This afternoon, Councillor Mahmood, he very competently delivered his joint report on transport and environment. But if you listen to his response, his 5-minute response to that debate, 0 seconds were spent on the transport issues. He told us he had pages and pages of notes he wanted to deliver, but as Cabinet member with that portfolio, he didn't have time to respond. And I asked a very specific question about speed cameras, to which I hoped we'd get a specific response. We didn't. We got some kind of answer in his presentation just now, but this trebling of speed cameras, does it or does it not include success in getting those fines released by government? It would be great if those fines were released to support local objectives, but the promise was to do it without that. Does it or does it not? Because that's unclear, still unclear at the moment. So, Lord Mayor, let's have a vote of the Council as to whether it was a good idea to remove the Cabinet member for transportation. Thank you very much.